All right, everybody. Welcome to a bonus edition of Dids in the Dugout. We've got a very special guest here, Liam Doyle. He's a transfer pitcher from Coastal Carolina, joining the Ole Miss Rebels this year. Had a really good freshman year for the Chanticleers. A really good baseball program over the last several years, and Liam was a big part of their success last year. And we're really excited to have him here in Oxford. So, Liam, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, pretty good. Excited to be here. How you doing?
Man, doing pretty good. Super excited you took time out to join me here tonight. Obviously, this is kind of something I'm trying to get going. You're the third player I've had on. Had Will Furness, and then Luke Hill, and
Yep.
now I have you. I really enjoy getting people like you and Luke in particular, the transfers that are the first year here. That way, Rebel Nation can kind of, you know, learn about you a little bit, get to know you, and kind of what you're going to bring to our team this year. So I'm super excited about this interview. And quite frankly, you bring something that this Rebel team really, really needs, and that is a big left handed arm in this pitching rotation for us, right? So just kind of get started a little bit. The first thing that jumped out to me when I was looking into you, where you're from, what you've done, and all that before you got to Oxford. You're
Yep.
from Derry, New Hampshire. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm from Derry, New Hampshire. Probably not too well known, but from Derry, New Hampshire,
Oh,
way up there.
okay. Well, do you want to know what the first thing I looked at when I saw that was?
What?
How far Derry, New Hampshire was to Derry, Maine, because I'm a huge Stephen King fan,
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
and
the
and
It movie.
and
Yeah,
Derry, Maine, with the movie It and all, and of course that's a fictional place, but y'all are
yeah.
right there on the Maine border there. I was kind of curious how much do you get that question, and I may be the only one because I am such a Stephen King fan and a
Now
and
I've
a
been asked
horror
that a
nut
few
a little bit.
times. I've been asked that a few times being down south playing baseball if I'm near
Yeah,
Derry, Maine, and I laugh at them every time I hear it because Stephen King's pretty big up north. But yeah, no,
yeah.
it's pretty funny.
Yeah. So that was one thing that I just kind of saw when I was seeing where you're from and everything. So that's
Yeah.
I enjoyed that a good bit. But anyway, you ended up going to Coastal Carolina your freshman year. Had a
Mhm.
really good year there. You started several games. Had a really good stretch there your freshman year with them. 6+ innings in three of your last four games. Y'all ended up hosting a regional. You were a huge part with that, and
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, you started the first game of the regional y'all hosted, right, against Ryder?
Yeah, I started the first game, and I also started our last game. I started two
Yeah,
out of our four regional games against Ryder and Duke. Yeah,
yeah. And that Ryder game, you were incredible. 6 innings, no hits, no
yep,
runs, 9 strikeouts, if I have that right.
yep,
Um, and absolutely stellar performance. And Duke was just one of those teams that just got hot at the right time. It seemed like,
yeah,
right? I
yeah,
mean, they were just hitting and killing everybody at that point. You held your own in that last game, but again, coming from Friday, starting again Monday, we've seen that several times in Oxford too. Uh,
yeah.
with some of our pitchers having to do that as well, and that's a tough assignment. Kind of talk about what it was like. I've watched a good bit of Coastal over the last several years because it has been such a good baseball program. One thing
Yep.
that stands out to me is how that place is an absolute launching pad right there in Conway. I mean,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
God, man, balls just fly out of that ballpark.
yeah. Not a fun park to pitch in, to be honest. It's fun to be a pitcher and watching your team hit well because we had one of the best
Yeah,
offenses in the country last year, just hitting
yeah,
wise. But you'll see some home runs that are just regular pop flies go out of there pretty consistently, especially during BP and stuff. And yeah,
yeah,
not
yeah. I
fun
mean,
time to be a
there's
pitcher.
yeah. There's got to be times where you think you've made an absolutely incredible pitch, either whether it be a changeup, low and away, something like that, to where you
Yeah,
place it right where you want to, and a guy gets the end of the bat off on it or something like that, and looks like a
yeah.
pop fly, and it ends up carrying out to right field or something for a home run. I mean, that's just got to be. I can't imagine how frustrating that is as a pitcher. I guess
Yeah, absolutely. I
there.
definitely experienced that a few times myself, and guys that you see come in from different schools pitch there a few times. You see them start walking off the mound. That ball
Yeah,
would just keep on carrying it off the wall, or we have like a huge wall in center field there too.
yeah,
That they
yeah.
would either bounce off that or go out, and yeah, pitchers would get frustrated pitching there. It's not the best. They're just getting a wind tunnel right above the wall and just blow out every
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and that's kind of one thing that ended up getting Coastal or y'all in that first game. You come out after 6 innings, and
Mhm.
then you know it doesn't matter how many runs you put up in that ballpark, it's never enough.
Yeah.
Ryder comes back and puts up a 9 spot right there in the 7th inning as soon as you get pulled, right? And
Yeah.
and then y'all have to come back and score for just get into extra innings. So it's just crazy how it's one of those ballparks to where you could say a 10-run lead is never even enough, and in baseball that's just crazy. But you're coming to a park now in Oxford at Swayze Field that's a little more pitcher friendly.
A little bit.
There's
Yeah.
there people can definitely get it out of that ballpark. But I got to think that that's something that you're looking forward to pitching in that ballpark a little more pitcher friendly than what you're used to in your 1 year of college so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to that. Hopefully getting some more fly ball outs instead of fly ball home runs and pitching in front of all the
Yeah,
fans and stuff. Looking forward to
yeah,
that.
yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, you had an incredible freshman year. You went 3-1, 4.15 ERA, 69 strikeouts, and 56 in the 3rd innings. In that ballpark, like we've been talking about, a 4.15 ERA for a true freshman is incredible. So
Yeah.
we're definitely getting a really talented arm. If you don't mind, just tell me kind of the thought process of transferring and why you ended up picking Ole Miss and why
Yeah.
you thought that was the fit for you.
Yeah, well, I came to Ole Miss for a few reasons. One, nothing to do with Coastal. I love my time there. It was a great time,
Yeah,
but I wanted a spot that I was going to be at home for 2 years. And I really, when I came here on a visit, me and my family loved it. Loved all the coaches, loved the facilities, loved what they had to offer, and just made my decision out there. I didn't even have to see any other schools. I just made my decision right on the spot and found a home. And it was just more of a place that's going to build me for the next 2 years for the draft than Coastal could, and I'm excited about my decision. I'm pretty sure I made the right one.
yeah, and I would assume obviously not in your head and don't know what you're thinking, but kind of looking at the tracker record with Mike Bianco and pitchers,
Yeah,
especially lefties, Drew Pomeranz, Doug Nikhazy, White Short, those kind of guys have
absolutely.
had incredible careers here in Oxford. And Pomeranz went on, and he's pitched several years in the major leagues. Nikhazy's doing his thing after an injury scare a couple years ago there with the Indians, but he's back and had a really good year in the minors and seems to be on track to be in the big leagues within the next year or two.
Yeah,
But then you even look back to the Lance Lynn's and guys like that, Mike Myers, James MacArthur that's actually having a kind of a breakthrough with the Royals right now in a
Mhm.
bullpen role. But just kind of seeing all of these pitchers uh, throughout Mike's career since he's been in Oxford had to be a big draw for you, I would assume, to come to
Yeah,
Oxford and work with him.
absolutely. Just seeing all the guys that they produce out of here, and seeing the guys that they already even have here, and just seeing how they can develop them from a freshman to a sophomore,
Yeah,
junior for their draft year and stuff. They on my official visit, what was really interesting to me was they were able to show me how they developed guys like Doug Nikhazy and stuff from their freshman year, and how they had their struggles or whatever, and what they fixed and how they fixed them. And that's something that I really want to look forward to, because not everyone's perfect, and I know I definitely am
yeah,
not yet, but stuff that I can work on, and just little things that I can fix to make me the best guy I can be for the draft.
yeah, absolutely. And quite frankly, you fit the Mike Bianco mold as far as
Yeah.
a pitcher goes, right? You're a big kid, you're a lefty. You can run the fastball up into the low to mid 90s. You can reach back and get a little bit more when you need to.
Yep.
You have a good slider, though. That's been this program's bread and butter since
Yeah.
Mike Bianco got hired back in 20 something years ago here in Oxford. Is slider, and you've got a
Mhm.
really good one. Um, what I thought was really interesting when I started digging into you a little bit and looking at your analytics and your pitches and all that, the highest chase rate you have is actually your changeup. You have a really good changeup. I Bleav it's a
Yeah.
33% uh, chase rate on that changeup.
Yeah.
Do you think it's more of a arm slot angle deception type thing when it comes to your changeup, or do you think it just has so much movement as far as particularly against right-handed pitchers, it usually runs
Yeah.
away from them a little bit and
Definitely
it
the
like that
righties and stuff.
fastball?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, why I think it's so successful, it's a splitter. So it's like a split changeup that I use as my changeup. And that's
Okay.
it's something that I've been developing as a senior since senior in high school, and that became definitely my put out pitch to righties. And then I'll
Hmm.
use my slider against lefties. But yeah, no, splitters is something I work on almost every day and catch play or something. And so I've been working on since I was a senior in high school, because I always struggled throwing a changeup, like a true circle changeup. So I developed a split change, and it's probably been my best pitch ever since. It's a very low spin rate. If I keep it down in the zone, it's really hard to hit, and it plays really well off my fastball that rides up in the zone usually. So
Yeah.
very deceptive.
Yeah. That's also something I'm kind of interested in with the way baseball is going these days. It changes. It seems almost every 5 years as far as how you're uh, analytically looking at pitchers in particular. And within these last few years, you see this. They call it horizontal break on
Yeah.
fastballs. Is that right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and you see guys that don't necessarily throw it hard. I always go back. I don't know if you remember this guy or not. He was a pitcher for the Braves back in the probably mid to late 2000. Chuck James, he was a lefty, and he threw it 89, 90, 91 miles an hour. Nobody could touch his fastball, and it was because it had that horizontal break on it to where it rode up in the zone and it played 95, 96, 97 when you asked hitters about it. Is that kind of similar to the kind of fastball that you use? I mean, is that kind of like?
Yeah, so I have pretty good horizontal break, but what makes my fastball so good and why I have a really high whiff weight and stuff on it is because I have a good vertical break on it, so it looks very deceptive, like it's going upwards almost, even though we know baseballs can't go upwards necessarily, but it looks like it plays up way harder because I get a really good vertical break along with the horizontal break that most lefties get anyway.
Okay, cool. So, that's it's. I love talking pitching with people, especially with Mike Bianco, because that's always the bread and butter of this program, has been for 20 plus years now. And you're a part of an incredible transfer class coming into Ole Miss. We basically revamped our roster through it right now. From a pitching standpoint, just I'm sure your expectation is to come in, compete for a starting spot would be my assumption. But the way college baseball is working now, like used to, you would have 3 starters on the weekend. You would expect them to go get 6 and 7 innings, and then you would need just a couple bullpen guys. But now you need so many arms to get through the season. Pitchers aren't used the same way from a starter standpoint. Is your expectation to come in, try to grab one of those starter roles, even though we have, guys like Hunter Elliott, if he comes back from his injury, he was a really good pitcher for us before he got hurt. And then you've got Xavier Rivas, JT Quinn, Grayson Saunier, the 2 freshmen that were so good for us last year that we anticipate on improving. And you're just another arm to add to that. Is it kind of like a big competition to get one of those 3 spots there, and then just wherever you land, are you fine with it there?
Yeah, it's definitely competition and definitely something I'm striving to get every day. But playing along those guys and watch those guys do the work, you can tell why they were weekend guys in the SEC last year. But I'm looking to compete right there with them, and we're all teammates at the end of the day. So whatever is best for Ole Miss baseball and however we're going to get as many wins as possible this year, we're going to all do. But competing with them every day, it's fun. It's fun. They're all very talented.
Awesome. That's exactly what Rebel Nation wants to hear in particular, because it's one thing that really killed us last year. We didn't have enough depth from a bullpen standpoint. And I started looking into this team back. We did our first podcast about baseball probably about 2-3 months ago, something like that. Started looking into the recruit class, transfer class, what we have coming back after the draft, stuff like that. And man, I'm telling you, y'all have so many arms on this roster. I mean, I counted like 11, 12 guys that I was confident that could go in and at least get outs for us. Several in a starting role, some in a bullpen role. And then some that even wouldn't, pitch 15, 20 innings in a year, but I was still confident that if we were in a pinch, they could go in there and get us 1, 2, maybe even 3 outs if we needed to. Kind of talk about the depth this team has from an arm standpoint, because I think it's one of the deepest I've ever seen since I've started following Ole Miss.
Yeah, absolutely. Just seeing all the new guys throwing stuff that I didn't know obviously before the season, but seeing true bullpen guys. Like at Coastal, we had a few guys that were bullpen guys, and then they have to move up to starters because we had so many injuries and stuff. So we never had true bullpen guys. There's a lot of bullpen guys that know how to come in for 2-3 innings and shut it down. You can tell, but because they throw multiple times in a weekend or something for inner squad and stuff, and that's definitely going to be very helpful for us. And we're still trying to find closers and stuff like that, and trying to find everyone there except their role. But there's so many guys here that can get outs for us, and I'm confident in and have really good stuff. So we'll be a pretty deep pitching staff this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, and that's kind of what kind of like you're talking about now. Y'all are in inner squads right now, right? Y'all had a
Yeah.
big inner squad weekend this past weekend, Friday, Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And you talking about finding roles, I think that's kind of speaks to the volume of the depth that y'all have, though, because nobody has a role quite set right yet, right?
Yeah.
You've
No
got
one.
guys
No.
battling for, not only starting spots, but bullpen spots. And, just kind of like I said, the way that it is right now, you have to have so many arms to get through an SEC season. So, that's obviously very encouraging to me that y'all have that kind of competition going on. How did the inner squads go for you this past weekend?
Air squads are awesome for me, especially. I had a very successful first 2 innings, but obviously that's just 2 innings of work, and
Yeah.
hitters haven't been able to see me yet. So at the beginning of air squads, it's pretty pitcher friendly because hitters don't know what to expect and stuff. Towards the end of air squads, it's definitely going to be harder. But yeah, I had a good couple first 2 innings. A lot of guys had a lot of good outings, a lot of positive stuff to see out of the whole staff in general.
Mhm.
But yeah, for me, it was good to get comfortable and get my first start in first 2 innings and. I gave up like 2 infield singles, had a few strikeouts. Felt really good on the mound though. Felt confident throwing a lot of strikes. So looking forward to this upcoming year.
Yeah. Okay. And I kind of mentioned it a second ago. All the transfers that Mike Bianco and the guys brought in, right?
Yep.
They really revamped not only the lineup but this pitching staff, and then I think they've done a great job of it. Obviously, nobody will know until we actually get into the season and start playing games.
Yeah.
But D1 baseball put out a top 130 impact transfers
Yep.
going into this year, and it is littered with Ole Miss players in the top 30. I mean, it's nuts. You got Trayson Hughes at number 11, Andrew Fisher at 17, Luke Hill at 20, Jackson Rolls at 25, and you at 28. So you're talking to 5 of the top 30 in the entire country making their way to Oxford, right? And I just kind of stopped at the top 30. I'm sure if I went on and on, I'd find a couple more that ended up transferring in. But I thought it was interesting. I asked Luke when I talked to him about a month or so back about all these transfers and new faces and how everybody's kind of meshing together, stuff like that. And, he just come right out and he said that it was, probably the most congealed, as far as culture goes with Mike Bianco. That's what he kept talking about, the culture with Bianco and what he's built there, how tight everybody is, even though it's so many new faces. Is that something that you've seen as well in your short time in Oxford so far?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm fortunate enough to live with 3 others. I live with Trayson, Andrew, and Kyler Carmack too. So all of them.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, living with them is fun. It just builds a good connection, and just being at practice every day, whether it's transfer portal guys or guys that have been here for their 5th year or whatever. It's fun.
Mhm.
Everyone's getting along together. We have a really good culture going in the weight room. Everyone's really supportive. Out on the field, in the squad, the energy's always up. Everyone's starting to gel together right around now, especially for sure, because we've been together for over a month now. But yeah, no, it's good, especially the transfer guys. We're all getting to know each other really well by now.
Good deal. Well, since you're living with Carmack, did you say you're living with him too?
I am, yep.
Okay. Well, see, that's who you need to talk to about the changeup then, because that fool's changeup just made people look stupid last
Yeah, he has a very good one.
Yeah. I mean, he was incredible, right? And I heard he can swing it a little bit too if you put a bat in his hand.
He was a 2-way going into freshman. He still thinks he can hit.
Yeah, that's right.
He's gonna have to prove that one to me. Yeah.
Well, we'll get him to the plate against you on the bump. How about that?
We'll see. We'll see how that goes for him. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I'll have to get him on here next, and I'll kind of start building that rivalry a little bit going into fall ball and everything before the season starts. That way we can get some battles going. So,
sure.
So again, you've come to Oxford. It sounds like everything's going really well. Everybody's meshing. Kind of, what are your impressions with Bianco? I'm a huge Bianco guy. I know before he won the national championship and all of that, there was stuff going around about him and everything.
Yeah.
I was fighting tooth and nail for my guy. That's my dude. I love Mike Bianco. You can build the statue, lifetime contract, all that stuff.
Yeah.
He is Ole Miss baseball. But you just now getting here, what are your impressions as a player of Mike and the kind of program he runs?
He's awesome. I love playing in front of a coach that is like a true leader and stuff. He teaches me a lot and talks about all the stuff he's been through in the past and shows you the true way and how to be an Ole Miss baseball player. And I'm even lucky enough to have two great coaches in my college career already. So I came from
Yeah.
Garrett Gilmore, who's also a very decorated
Mm-hmm.
college baseball coach. So I've seen a lot of true good leaders and stuff, and he's really good at what he does, and he knows how to be a very, very good player-friendly coach, and love going to the field every day and having him coach.
Yeah. All right. So we'll kind of end with this. I've kept you a little longer than I expected to. I really appreciate your
All
time, but
good. All
you
good.
know you're coming into the SEC. You know it's widely regarded as the best baseball conference in the country, and you're not gonna get any argument out of me. You know we have teams up and down this conference that constantly compete, going to Omaha, compete for national championships.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the biggest crowds in the country year in and year out. You know it's always Mississippi State, Ole Miss, LSU, Arkansas, South Carolina, Tennessee starting to get up there now as far as attendance goes. Just
Yeah.
kind of what are your expectations and what are you looking forward to most getting to play in the best conference in the country?
I'm excited for the competition, just playing the best kids in the country. That's why I came here, and that's what I'm trying to do: win games, play in front of the big crowds, hear the noises
Yeah.
and stuff, and just see all the atmospheres. Even traveling to away stadiums or going to LSU to play in front of 12,000 people, or Florida or stuff like that. All those big games and stuff. That's what I want to pitch in, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah, yeah. Well. Look, when you make your way down to Baton Rouge and you play at LSU, you
Yeah.
need to not only win for the Rebels. We got to get those for Luke Hill and Will Furnace. Okay,
Yeah.
those are my two dudes, and they're going to have a bunch of family and all in there,
Yeah.
and we got to shut some Cajuns up when we get down to Baton Rouge. You're going to hear all kind of shit talk from me when that week rolls around.
Perfect. I'm excited for it.
That's
I
a
can't
big
wait to
one
play
for
all
me.
those guys. Yep. I'm
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
forward to it.
Good deal. Well, Liam, again, I appreciate you taking time out, coming on here, talking with me, and
Yep.
you know, best of luck this coming up year, first year in Oxford in the SEC. Super
Mm-hmm.
excited to see you play. I'm going to end up making it down for some of the scrimmages and stuff like that. I'm about 45 minutes away. So me and my co-host will end up getting on there for that and
Perfect.
come to see y'all play. And baseball's our thing, man. Like right now it's football season. We got to talk football, but when baseball
Yeah.
season comes around, that's when we're really in our mode. I mean, we
Absolutely.
love Ole Miss baseball, college baseball, and super excited you're able to make it here, and just the best of luck this year.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. Enjoy my time.
All right, Liam. Good luck, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Sounds good. See ya.